individual matches. Many fans feel far too many tickets are going to those with connections or those in the corporate boxes, and far too few are filtering down to them.
It's absolutely pathetic. Honestly speaking, we've seen so many matches in this country. We've never seen such shabby preparation.
One has to ask, who is this tournament being played for? Surely not for the man on the street in India.
The sports world governing body have been left trying to explain why they don't seem to be in charge of ticketing their own event.
Ticketing sale is in the hands of the hosts. We set and agree policies with them. Some commitments are made well in advance. It's a fact of life that we have commitments to the sponsors who support us over a long period in our cycle.
This was the scene on Thursday when some tickets did go on public sale. Most fans on the receiving end only of disappointment and what local police have since described as normal practice. Demand will always outstrip supply for such games, but as the importance of matches increases at this event, so too does the scope for further ticketing chaos. Andy Richardson, Al Jazeera, Bengaluru.
3 Pakistan cricketers found guilty of spot fixing say they will appeal their bans. Earlier this month, former captain Salman Butt and bowlers Mohammad Amir and Mohammad Asif were all found guilty by an ICC tribunal of planning to deliberately bowl no balls during a test at Lord's last year. All 3 were essentially banned for 5 years. The trio will now take their case to the Court for Arbitration for Sport. Players are also due to appear before a court in London on March 17th, accused of obtaining and accepting corrupt payments. To the English Premier League now, and Manchester United have extended their lead at the top of the table after a big win away at Wigan. 2 goals from Javier Hernandez helped them to a 4-0 victory. Aston Villa also scored 4 in their win at home to Blackburn. Wolves were yet another team to hit their opponents for 4. That win over Blackpool takes them out of the relegation zone. But here's how the top of the table is looking. United 4 clear of Arsenal. Arsenal, of course, are in League Cup final action against Birmingham on Sunday. Also on Sunday, 3rd place Man City are set to play Fulham, while Liverpool are away at West Ham. In Spain, both Barcelona and Real Madrid are in action later. There were 3 other games in the Primera División on Saturday. One of them saw Espanyol host Real Sociedad. A win for the Catalan side would see them go 5th. Well, they took the lead through Alvaro just before the break. But then 2 minutes later, Sociedad were level. A corner resulted in Daniel Estrada volleying home. But 9 minutes into the second half, the home side were back in front. A great turn and finish from Sergio Garcia. Espanyol went on to score a further 2 more goals, 4-1 with just a few minutes to go there. Tennis, and world number 3 Novak Djokovic has won his 3rd straight Dubai Championship title. He beat Roger Federer in the final on Saturday. Meanwhile, here in Doha, the 2nd seed Vera Zvonareva of Russia has won the final of the Qatar Ladies Open. She was up against the world number 1 Caroline Wozniacki on Saturday. Zvonareva started off pretty well, always keeping in touch with her illustrious opponents, but the Dane was strangely off the pace as Zvonareva clinched the first set 6-4. The second set was much more of a battle, but the Russian managed to hold off Wozniacki's challenge to win the set 6-4 and seal the match and her 11th career WTA final. Possibly a decisive day in Rugby Union Six Nations. England were taking on France at Twickenham in a match that pretty much would decide the winner of this year's season's championship. And it was England who claimed victory just a few minutes ago. 17 points to 9. They can now harbour hopes of a grand slam. Earlier in Rome, Wales beat Italy 24 points to 16. Busy day of sport, but that's it for now. Come on.
Rahul, thank you. Nice to have the sport this evening on the News Hour. Stick around, though. We're back in just a few moments. 1900 GMT will bring you our next bulletin. The latest from Libya. Saif al-Islam has spoken. We'll bring you some of what he has said. Back in a moment with more.
If you're a Nokia user, you can download AlJazeera's News widget from Nokia's Ovies store. The News widget, available on compatible Nokia devices, gives users quick and easy access to real-time news updates from Al Jazeera English. See the world in real time. Al Jazeera Mobile.
Information travels in many ways. Opinions constantly formed. Knowledge passes in an instant.
If you want to communicate with those shaping the headlines, this is your chance to ask questions directly to the people making the news. Riz Khan, at this time on Al Jazeera.
It is in the details. A look A connection. The moments that reveal the truth. Award-winning documentaries from critically acclaimed filmmakers. Witness documentaries to open your eyes. At this time on Al Jazeera.
Gaddafi's shrinking territory. Libya's former interior minister tells us most of the country is now in the hands of the protesters.
Now there is only Tripoli and a few other towns in Gaddafi's hands. That is why I urge the Libyan people that there is no going back.
It's 1900 hours GMT, 9 p.m. in Tripoli. I'm Kamal Santa Maria with our continuing coverage on Al Jazeera of the uprising in Libya. There are reports of renewed violence in Libya's capital, Tripoli, where residents say the government is arming the pro-Gaddafi civilians. And migrant workers stream out of Libya, fearful of being mistakenly targeted as foreign mercenaries. So plenty more developments to tell you about concerning Libya as that battle for control of the country rages on. Also got the United Nations Security Council meeting to consider measures against Colonel Muammar Gaddafi's regime. The draft resolution calls for an arms embargo and an assets freeze. Much of that country, though, believed to be out of Gaddafi's control at the moment. His grip on power may soon be confined only to Tripoli. But fighting is said to be continuing in key areas, including Misrata and Zawiya. Well, the Gaddafi family has shown no intentions of relinquishing their rule. In an interview with Al Arabiya television, the Libyan leader's son, Saif al-Islam, blamed the crisis on foreign elements. And in a chilling warning, he said this: what the Libyan nation is going through has opened the door to all options. And now the signs of civil war and foreign interference have started. He also said an agreement has to be reached because the people have no future unless they agree together on a new program. Well, Hora Abdulhamid is in eastern Libya for us, and she's sent this update on the latest events across the country.
Praying to God for help in surviving an intense battle in Zawiya, 50 kilometers west of the capital Tripoli. Gaddafi is the enemy of God, this protester cries out. Seconds later, the gunfire gets much closer. This video was sent to Al Jazeera after being filmed on Saturday morning. Zawiya is a strategic town with an oil terminal where opposition forces are gathering to drive Muammar Gaddafi from his last remaining strongholds.
Now there's only Tripoli and a few other towns left. That's why I urge the Libyan people that there's no going back. Going back's impossible. We have to move forward. All the patriotic, courageous and respected Libyan youth should help the people of Tripoli to carry out their duties.
Much of eastern Libya is already in opposition control, but these images, set to be filmed on Friday, show massive protests in Misurata, another western city 210 kilometers from the capital. Al Jazeera cannot independently verify this video or another said to be from Misurata that appears to show more soldiers joining the protesters' cause. Libya's head of special forces, the latest Gaddafi ally, now rallying for his removal.
I place all my expertise and capabilities at the service of the youth revolution. I urge all honest members of the special forces to rejoin their units immediately and to protect the gains of the February 17th revolution and protect the lives of the Libyan people and their property.
And this video shows exactly why Libyans need protecting. Heavily armed men drag away a limp body and stuff it into a car. Uploaded on YouTube, it also can't be verified, but is said to be filmed in Tripoli during Friday's clashes. Painting a different picture, These images, shot by Associated Press, on a government-sponsored media offensive under the restrictions of Gaddafi loyalists.
Tripoli is 100% safe. There are no problems. People are going about their business. There are no problems and people are going to work.
It would seem this vision is about as useful as state television to show what's really happening in Libya, or just how much longer its under-siege leader can hang on. Most of the oil-rich East has fallen into the hands of the opposition. There is a sense of security, but it's a volatile situation. The opposition also says it has taken control of oil refineries, now operating at a minimal capacity. For people here, the most important is to retain the gains, keep the momentum, while they wait and see what happens in the west of the country. Hud Abdul Hamid, Al Jazeera, Eastern Libya.
Some other elements around Libya to tell you about. New video from the eastern city of Al-Baida, which shows one of Muammar Gaddafi's palaces. Parts of it were destroyed during the unrest as protesters tried to take over the city. The palace had iron doors, which led to underground tunnels, apparently extended for several kilometres. In the opposition-held city of Benghazi in eastern Libya, there are signs life is slowly returning to normal. As schools remained closed, some shops and banks have reopened. They'd been closed for days during the violence which drove pro-Gaddafi loyalists out. Protesters have now turned their energy to clean-up efforts, but there are some worries whether this newly formed city council, which is running the city, can provide the most basic of services. And here's an interesting one. The Libyan government's begun offering financial sweeteners to the population in a bid to quell the protests. The official Jamhuriya television agency on Saturday carried two urgent announcements. First of all, a so-called popular committee offers 500 Libyan dinars to all families in Libya. It's about $400, I think. The second offers all unemployed graduates loans from their nearest banks. Foreign migrants have been streaming across the border from Libya into neighbouring Tunisia, trying to escape the violence, and that includes many Africans. They are fleeing in fear of their lives, afraid of being mistaken for mercenaries. This report from Nazneen Mashiri on the border.
Libya is one of the most dangerous places in the world right now if you're black and African. Anti-government protesters thought Seydou Boubacar Jalou and his friend were mercenaries. Pro-Gaddafi forces targeted them for being foreigners. In the end, these Malians fled for their lives by night. They say the roads out of the west are still in the hands of those loyal to Gaddafi.
They were wearing